Hello, this is a prepaid collect call from an inmate at the county jail. This call is subject to recording and monitoring. To accept charges, press 1. To refuse charges, press 2.
Well, hello, Mike. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. You know how it is. Well, okay. Yeah, well, that's the curse of jail. I can't really support kind treatment over there, but if you find anything that's illegal or that's unhealthy or dangerous or a security threat, anything like that, write notes and contact people. Yeah, that's exactly what we want. We want as detailed as you can give because lawyers are out to make money, and judges they don't want to sit on the bench and waste their time. So you need to come up with something that you feel that you could win in court. It's not as easy as people think. We hear that all the time. I'm taking you to court. But when you see something going on in there, don't wait. The sooner you get it out, the better. And it's tough for you to reach the law enforcement, but we can definitely contact them out here. But it's all up to you. You're going to be the prime witness in something like this. And that's the a thing that we're having problems with right now. You will be going to a juvenile detention center most likely. It's like it's for people that are under age 25. Once you reach 25, they'll move you to the prison. But a teenager like you shouldn't go directly to the prison. That's pretty dangerous for you, especially when you have people who are guilty of rape of a child or molestation or assault. Yeah, these people prey on children, and you're a prime candidate for that. And I'm glad the state at least looked at that. But of course, these children's centers, they get overcrowded and understaffed, and that's going to be a big concern. And that I don't know. I'm not sure which one you'll go to. But most likely you'll be with other males. And that's something that we'll have to look into as well. So once again, keep in contact. Make phone calls, send letters, keep notes. We can't emphasize that enough. And as traumatic as it could be for you, once people come to talk to you about the situation, you may forget some details, or you may get the details wrong because your memory wasn't as good after all that time. And we would hate for you to go in and say these people mistreated you, and then when they're asking for dates and names and situations, you get them all mixed up because state officials tend to not believe you or not take this seriously when they can't confirm things and they look at you as being a liar. Oh yeah, definitely. We know that you're telling your account
You
of the
have 60
situation
seconds remaining.
and not relaying it from someone else, which could be flawed. And we know you're giving your recount the best you can. But in something like this, you have to be completely defensive. You need to give the facts, and you need to keep it consistent. And so writing down notes is good. Get you a notepad
You have 30 seconds remaining.
or a binder, something where you could write the stuff down. And that I don't know. I mean, they do tend to raid the rooms and they'll confiscate stuff, and hopefully nothing like that would be lost. But if you want, you can maybe once a month send your journal to somebody, and if you can get copies of it, definitely keep that. Okay, yeah, that'll work.
Thank you for using Inmate Call. Goodbye.
Hello, welcome to AQS Inmate Call, and I am your host, Joel Wilborn. And as you can tell from the phone call, I was talking to somebody who's young, and we'll just say this person is 16, because an average age for like a major first-time offense would be in the mid to late teens, and that's from my personal experience. So we'll say Mike is 16, got convicted of a major offense, and is looking at maybe a decade in prison. Now, in the state of Washington, we don't want to send 16-year-olds to prison. Just think of the people that's in the prison. So you get this boy that comes walking through the gates, and it's going to be immediately focused on. So people are going to observe them, try to befriend them, try to gaslight them, manipulate them, anything to get their fix, which they've, in many cases, been deprived of because they're locked behind prison. And that's why we do that. We put people in prison to keep the community safe. We're also supposed to keep the people who are in prison safe. Now, I worked with a person who went into prison as a teenager, and I met her shortly after she got into prison. And she was doing the best she could to blend in and to cope with the trauma and the deal with the shock of being put in prison. And being the little rebel that she was, it was for her, she kind of felt that she could fend for herself. Unfortunately, there were a lot of people that started to prey on her, and she got caught up in it. The state did see that she should have been put in the juvenile area, the children's school and center. So she was eventually moved over, and she stayed there until she was 25. And I got to talk with her a lot while she was over there, learn a little bit about it. And now we have some cases that are coming up, some people that are suing the state for the mistreatment that they received in these children's centers. And we also had an official who was making some recommendations. She was suggesting that they treat people a certain way, that they house people a certain way. She was just making some really good recommendations as far as I could tell. But she was also a whistleblower, and they fired her for that. So now she is suing for wrongful termination, and she's able to provide some insight to the inner works of this particular program. And it's really tough to get past sympathy for people who have committed a crime. And I know when I put things on social media, I'll get comments like they're not too young to know the difference between right and wrong. And then, of course, we've got systems that are pressing charges against parents when a teenager commits a major crime, especially with a weapon. And I would really like to get away from all that, because knowing right from wrong doesn't give an excuse for committing a crime. Yeah, a lot of these people know what they're doing is wrong, and some go out of the way to hide it or to try to deceive people. But there's more to it. A child is reaching out for knowledge and learning how to survive in the world. And when a child gets into the wrong crowd, let's say, or becomes an addict, or has mental health issues, then their ability to act in a reasonable way is kind of restricted, and they'll go out and do something like this. And with the people I've spoken to, they're not denying that they did anything wrong. It's just that they want people to understand what they were going through at that time. And when we try a person as an adult and give them a huge prison term, then we'll go back and we'll try to understand the motive. And we hear a lot about abuse in the household, or having mental issues or depression, something that's just causing them to think outside the norm. And we hear it so much, especially with serial killers, how they were treated, that it gets to the point where it doesn't matter. We'll hear them say, I was abused as a child, and people, the public, will say, yeah, we hear that a lot. But if you're hearing that constantly, that means that's the issue. You don't hear them give interviews or go to their counselors and say, there were so many weapons available to me and I couldn't help myself. I had to get a weapon. I had to go out and kill people. Or the drugs were so easy to get to. I needed to get my high every day or every minute. They'll say things that pretty much can be a psychological scar. Maybe they're, like one person was saying that she was going to school, but she had no financial support. So she was working, and it was tough for her to go to school, come home, go to work, go to sleep, get up, maintain her health, maintain her sanity going through that. And so people offered her drugs, which she took, which helped for a little while, but then she got addicted to them, and then her whole life fell apart. And that's one of the reasons that people commit these crimes, because of these circumstances. And so when we get a person and put that person in prison, we can talk to these people and find out what it was that led to this situation. And so that's what I want to focus on with these children. Let's counsel them. Let's talk to them. Let's get the word out so that people who are in similar situations can look and see what happens if they make a decision that they were probably thinking about doing. Maybe they were so angry they wanted to go shoot up a school, but they listened to somebody who actually did. Because these people will idolize these criminals. And I know I've heard people say that when they listen to music, the words touch them. And a lot of the people who write these songs they do it to let something out. If they're angry about how their life is going, or a breakup from a romance, or maybe they are thinking back on some things that really bothered them as a child, they can put it into words and sing it. And when they're out on the stage and the audience listens to it, and these people throw their hands up and they holler, and they're relating to the words. That's what I'm going through. Or social media post where you'll see people put a meme up about how they were treated by somebody, or domestic violence. And this is their way of reaching out. But when we hear those songs, there probably is an issue to look into. And we have suicide hotline now that people can call, and I'm sure it's helped people to change their mind. But we don't really have anything where people can just sit and talk. We've had a recent situation where people were talking to AI, and AI just hasn't developed to the point where it can actually offer reasonable solutions to a psychological problem. What they should do is, if a person starts talking about this, AI should immediately change the subject or refer them to an adult, or to maybe even to the suicide hotline. But if that's all these people have to turn to, that's on us, because these people are reaching out, but they don't know what to do. And knowledge in this case could actually save a life. And that's why I have my YouTube site where people can go and listen to folks who had a rough upbringing and want to share this information with folks to keep them from making the same mistakes they did. I would like to talk to my elders, my grandparents and great-grandparents, not only to get a little bit of history from their point of view, but also to learn from their mistakes. And that's why we share things with the younger people, because if let's say we win the lottery and we win $1 million, and then within 2 years we're broke. If somebody goes down to buy a lotto ticket, you could tell them it's not worth it, or you can tell them if you do that and you win, this is the first thing you need to do. And who knows, if you give this advice or put this on social media and somebody does win the lottery and does get this a lot of money, this person could wind up making the right decisions because of the mistake that you went through. And so social media can be used for good. We don't always want to just see people dancing or coming up with those challenges that they do of knocking on doors and running away or something. But we could also share a bad experience that we had, not necessarily with a product or a company, but with just life. And there are ways to help us to get through, and we just got to learn that there's no perfect solution to anything. And a lot of this can only be resolved by our own personal experiences and our own choices. And that's where the school can help. That's where parents can help. We need to get this nuclear family back. And that's where these children's centers can help. We really need to invest in that, because if these people are going from a children's center to the prison, they should be wise enough to know how to compose themselves. Because we're taking somebody who didn't have the experience that a lot of adults went through growing up and throwing them into an adult situation. And if that doesn't prompt people to pay attention to the mental state of children, I'm not sure what we can do to get them to understand that working with children, we can prevent a lot of crimes. And children do listen. We might say something to them, just like the old classic thing, stay in school, don't do drugs. And you might see the eyes roll and the person walk away and think, well, I didn't have an effect. But that could be probably the most important words that this teenager heard. And it could make a big difference. And you may not hear about it until like 50 years later, where you're sitting out on the porch and this person says, you remember 50 years ago when you said this to me? It changed me. There are millions of people running around out there that we just say a few things to that really help them. But if we're silent, or if we ignore it, or we demonize them, that's not going to help. There's no perfect solution for it, but we can take baby steps to lead people, to give them to the right resources, and to help them understand that what they do does matter. It can affect millions of people. Just look at those situations where children do commit crime, kind of like the Bonnie and Clyde. They'll just run around committing crimes because they figure, well, I committed one crime. If I commit 15 more, it's not going to make much difference. Or if they just don't want to be caught, if they're running around doing stuff like that, then it's easy to demonize them. And we've got to try to catch it and look for the signs. And I think social media is a good way because teens have their privacy and they want to sit in a room, scan through, and they scan through a TikTok video. It could make a difference for them. Or if they scan through these lawsuits are going to make a change in some of these children's centers because they need our help. And don't think children know everything. I know they feel that way. But it's up to us with our experiences and our knowledge to share it with them and give them that opportunity to make their own decision. And if we can save one person out of 15, it's worth it. It's definitely worth the effort. Well, thanks for tuning in. Please talk with your friends and family. Bring up a discussion at dinner one time. And let's show people that we care and that we want to reduce crime and we want to live in a safer neighborhood. Well, go out, have yourself a marvelous day, and make fantastic memories for tomorrow.